Ladies and gentlemen, happy Valentine's Day. Let's get ready for another amazing show with Lady O. It's Tea Talk time.
Very good. And hello, everybody. And again, happy Valentine's Day. Amen. Now, listen, this day, people have just kind of overrated it and made it all about loving couples and so forth. But I look at it as the day to show real love, and it's the love of God. So we show the love of God to whoever it is that's in our presence, whether it's our spouses, our children, our grandchildren, some stranger on the street. Today is the day to show love. And as I said today on our broadcast, if you don't have someone to love, go find somebody. There's plenty of people who need love. Pick up the phone call and talk to someone and show them some love because that's what it's all about, right? All right. And you don't have to have that boo to show love, right? And so I just wanted to say that we have a wonderful show prepared for you today. And today we're showing love for our frontline workers. And specifically, we're talking about workers who work in the hospital. So today we're going to talk about to a doctor, and we're going to be honoring them for doing something that, frankly, many of us just couldn't do. And also, I'm hearing that some people who are nurses decided not to do it anymore. And we have some nurses and a doctor on here who we're honoring them today because of their dedication. And because of the weather, it's supposed to be snowing. I got on my white because we're supposed to be getting some snow tonight. Two of our workers work at a hospital, and they've been called in early. So what has happened is their hospital has said, look, we don't want you to get out there and can't get into work tomorrow. We need you here. So they've got to go in, even though they're not getting paid for it, even though they're not working. They've got to get there in the hospital so they can be there in case the snow comes and their cars won't make it to work. Also, the people who are sick, people who are ill, people who need them will not be left stranded because we know even though the snow comes, people still need their help. They still need our nurses and doctors. So I'm getting some notes here. I was going to have Dr. Ayola come first. And I just really don't know which way to go because all of them, Dr. Ayola has an emergency too with a loved one who just passed away from COVID in Nigeria. So she's got to get on the line from Nigeria. So I don't know how this is going to work, but we're going to try to rush through it as best we can. I'll introduce my guest, and then we'll just go backwards and forwards to see how we can get them all in. So I'll just say, Mr. Benny, you said you had to go early. Are you having because I just saw that in the chat.
I'm not going to get to. Yeah, I'm not going to get to just be there. They are asking me to come in early to work.
Okay. All right. Can you just go ahead then and tell us your testimony? Because I really want the people to see this. Mr. Benny is a nurse, and
I'm a respiratory care practitioner.
Okay, thank you. Respiratory care practitioner. So he deals with respiratory issues, which is a lot of what COVID patients have, correct? And
correct.
Tell us what happened to you on your job as you're taking care of COVID patients.
I was seeing several patients, anywhere from 10 to 15 or more COVID patients a day, several times a day. And I was exposed somehow, being that we thought it was just contact, but we prepared for airborne. But unfortunately, it got me, and I was forced to go in. I went into the ER 3 times, acquired angioedema, which is a swelling in the trach and in the esophagus, and it shut down. I told them to intubate me because I didn't have long to live. They didn't believe it at first. They looked at it with a kaleidoscope and realized that was the truth. And they took 3 doctors and about an hour later to try to get me intubated because I was so difficult because I had already closed. Okay. And so I was on the vent for a week. And but most of the time, all I experienced was cold and darkness. And but on like about the 6th day,
do you mean shivers? Like when you say cold and darkness, you mean you couldn't see, or you mean just cold physically?
I just felt cold and numb, and then the chest would hurt so bad sometimes that it was like war was going on in my lungs because the ventilator was opening me up, but it was very, very painful. It was like a screwdriver sticking into my chest and turning
Mhm.
it. It was just very painful. And when I got off the vent, it was the same way, extremely painful and difficult to walk. So it took me about a month and a half to try to
Wow.
walk very well. The cardiovascular system was shot, and the lungs were in viral pneumonia in both lungs, and it took 2 months to go. And I experienced a lot of different problems with the medicines, causing my heart to increase up into the 180s and 200s, and
Wow.
then my breathing ability would desaturate badly. You couldn't smell, couldn't taste, uh,
Wow. So did this
and
come
it
on
was.
really rapidly, or did it just happen like over a couple of weeks, or how rapidly from the
It
first
took
time you
four.
started?
It took 4 days to get really bad.
Wow.
Like I said, I was turned away from the ER twice, but the third time I couldn't be turned away again. I didn't have long to live, and I knew that because I could feel I couldn't swallow anymore. And
Okay. So you know things were closing up. So the big thing to look for is that chest, I mean your throat closing up. And 4 days, and that quick, you were like in bad shape.
I was in very bad shape.
Wow.
And and of course the fever is when it hit me. I had the chills and the runny nose, the coughing, and then the breathing continued to get worse. And then uh, so by the time I got to the hospital on Sunday in that first week of July, I was not going to be turned away again. I had told them the situation. I told them the angioedema was prevalent, and I told them that I had very few minutes to live if they didn't start doing the intubation and bagging me and stuff like that, and decrease the inflammation with the steroids.
Right.
Uh,
And
but they
so I was going to
delayed.
say that too, because so many people get turned away. And here you are, a medical person, you know the signs, and they know you work in a hospital, and they still turned you away.
Yes,
So when
they
somebody
did
turns you
twice.
away, should you persist, or because that could have been
Well,
deadly?
the third time they realized that I wasn't playing, that
Mm,
this was not a thing where I was going home. And I
right.
told him, the doctor, I told her I had about 15 minutes to live if you don't
Wow.
intubate me now. And she said, "Your sats are okay." I said, "You don't understand." I said, "You're going to have to get a kaleidoscope and look down there, and you will find that you're going to need a whole team to get me intubated and do it now." And when
Wow.
she did the kaleidoscope, she hollered for surgery, she hollered for the anesthesia, and she hollered for her fellow doctor to come in there, and she didn't care what he was doing. And
Yeah, get them
she
in there.
realized that this was beyond her because it took
Right.
anesthesia and surgery to get the use a baby bougie, which is a device that's used to put an ET tube down on in there, and they couldn't use an adult that was past that.
Wow.
And so they
So
managed to get a very small tube in there, and then they got a one size larger, and then one size larger than that, and then they stopped at 7. That's the best they could do.
now for
Um,
is it incubation or intubation?
intubation.
Intubation. A lot of people are afraid of that. And they said once they say they're going to intubate you, that means you're going to die. So
No, no,
you're
that
saying
just
it.
gives the body a chance to rest, and so you can breathe and recover.
Okay. So we shouldn't be afraid of that. Or is there anything
No.
that advice you could give to patients? And well, first of all, I know you're going to say this is people say it's a joke. It's not really real. It's a hoax. But you're saying it's not. It's not a hoax. It's really this disease is very real.
It's very real,
Hmm.
and if you ignore it, which was often what people do, they ignore it because it comes on slowly, and then it just starts picking up speed. And if you don't do something about it, uh, and realize that the symptoms are getting worse, and you don't do something about it, by the time you get there, it's too late.
Wow. Wow.
The
So
viral pneumonia is what kills.
the viral
With this,
pneumonia.
that's what the actual killer is the viral pneumonia, because it prevents you from getting air into your lungs.
Okay. Okay,
because the
very good.
fluid in the lungs is interstitial, not in the airways.
Okay, okay. Well, listen, so we're glad that you're back and then that you're back at work now. And that's why we wanted to honor you today because I know some nurses and people that work in the hospitals have quit. Is that correct?
Yeah, we had four of our therapists quit uh, because of me, and I hated that because they've been with us for years, but they were scared, and fear can be an
They've been
awful
around you.
prevalent thing.
Yeah.
And when they saw me, they thought that this was it for me. And um, Nikita and I have known each other for about 20 years, and
Mm.
she was having trouble with it, as I would if it were her. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fear
so,
because it is very contagious. And so, but you're thinking you got yours from one of the patients.
oh
Um,
yeah, oh, yeah, I got it from one of the patients.
yeah, and you had all your
Because
gear on, but you think it's
yeah,
just so airborne, you just can't avoid it
yeah,
sometimes.
it could have been in the ventilation systems when on patients that didn't have a negative room.
You're right, right. Okay,
So,
well,
got it.
well, we want to just thank you so much for going back in because I know so many patients are depending on doctors and nurses like you, and we know that you have your own health concerns to take care of you, and your family is worried about you. So we want to just say we appreciate you, and we are praying for you, and we call you our hero today. And we have a very special gift. We'll send it through Nikita to give to you from one of our sponsors, Thrivent Financial. And so we're just going to give you some things just to say thank you for all you do and take care of yourself.
Well, I will, and thank you very much for allowing me to speak on your show.
Yes, thank you for coming. You've really helped a lot of people. Just seeing you there and knowing that you've been through it, you made it through, and just those few little things that you told us really have been very helpful to us. Okay. Well, be safe going in today. Okay.
I will. I really didn't want to go in, and neither does Nikita, but unfortunately, that's the nature of the business.
Yeah. And we took some goodies by there too. So hopefully they'll still be left. Y'all can snack at least to kind of make y'all feel a little bit more appreciated. So hopefully there's still some snacks there left.
Well,
But
thank you.
okay. All right. Have a blessed day. We'll see you later. All right. Well, thank you. I'm glad I got that testimony and he had to leave. And so I apologize for that because I was really wanting to bring Dr. Yola on first. So, Dr. Yola, I apologize for that. But I really want to get his testimony in here. But this next lady that I'm going to honor is this young lady is she's my doctor. She's been my doctor and my family's doctor for a long time. She is a member of First Metropolitan Church, and we have been with her since setting up her offices, and she has a phenomenal practice. But she is another one. She has to be there with her patients, whether it's COVID or whatever it is that's going on with them. They are committed. When we call them, we expect them to pick up and be there for us. And that's all of her patients. It's like their favorite child. They expect you to be there for everything, but she still is a human being, has her own family as well. So I wanted to come on and just honor her, not only as a medical worker, but as our Black history honoree, that she is our living history that we have had as a part of our life. And I wanted to come on and have her talk to you about her life. So, Dr. Yola, why don't you come on and tell us a little bit? Welcome to Tea Talk Time.
Welcome. Thank you for having me, Lady O. God
You look
bless
so
everybody.
beautiful.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, yes. And so we just want to show love to you workers because you give so much love to all of us when we're sick. And we know sometimes you're even a little sick when you're taking care of us, but still we want you to take care of us, in spite of whether or not you're sick or your kids are sick or whatever. So what I want to do is a little bit more. We're going to talk about your practice too and so forth, but I really want to talk about, first of all, you're a medical doctor. How long have you been a doctor? And how did you become a doctor? Did you dream of it when you were a little girl? What's your story?
Well, I've been a physician for 38 years. It's going to be 39 years this year. Thank God for that. It's been a
Yeah.
long road. Um, I'm going to be 60 this year by the grace of God. So 38 years, more than half of my life has been practicing medicine.
Yeah.
And I'll just want to say it's been a journey that I really don't think I could have done anything else. I think the Lord had led me in the right profession, and I can't even see myself do anything else. I didn't always start off wanting to be a physician. Growing up and all that, I was always intrigued by traveling, thought I was going to be in the foreign service or something like that. And but my father, to give a little background, was a physician. God bless his soul. My mother was a nurse. God bless her soul. And just growing up in a family where our parents were in the medical field, we already had those values of a life of service, compassion, empathy for people who were sick and vulnerable. So we already had that as growing up, and saw our parents do that. But when I got to an age where I felt I could make up my mind what I wanted to do, that was in high school. It then started becoming clearer to me that I did not want to go traveling or being a diplomat. I really wanted to follow in the steps of my father and also my mother, who, like I said, was a nurse. And that was how I started off in the medical field. The other thing that I really enjoyed was always like teaching. I like to educate, to kind of give people a little bit more information, to kind of give them, knowledge so that they can make better choices. And so that, together with a life of service and taking care of people, together really was the backbone of my going into medicine. And my father was a great influence. He was my role model. He said,
Now, were your parents doctors in Nigeria? Or
no, my father was a doctor. My mother was a nurse.
I mean, were
And
they in
in
the medical
Nigeria,
field? In Nigeria,
in
yeah.
Nigeria, yes. My father practiced till he was 90 years old. And I guess he practiced till he was 90 years old. He was in general practice. And what I saw in his life was one of a sacrifice. He started off by wanting to be a surgeon, but tragedy, what many would have thought was a personal tragedy, occurred when he was going to London to further his studies and become a surgeon. He went blind suddenly, just went blind, both eyes, landed in London, foreign land, no sight. And of course, he couldn't do surgery. But he did not take that as, the end of his quest to carry on in medicine. He went ahead, enrolled in the Royal College of, for the Blind Institute, learned how to read Braille, learned how to type, walked with a cane, did all that, and then had to switch his specialty to physical medicine and rehab, which is physiotherapy in the UK. That's what they call it. So it was more touching with his hands, even though he couldn't see. And then when he finished that, he came back to Nigeria, or went back to Nigeria and started physiotherapy in the country. So he was the first person to start that. So he turned an adversity, what someone would have thought was a tragedy, into something that became his life vocation. And he became known nationally and internationally in the World Council for the Blind. Nationally, he was honored for what he did for the blind. And that was a great inspiration for me. And so I went into ophthalmology. That was my first field. I was an ophthalmologist back home. And that was because of what I saw my father went through. So I wanted to be where you could prevent and, prevention of blindness, curing blindness, rather than curing, people who had problems, rather than having to rehabilitate, which is what he was doing, rehabilitating those that were already blind. That was what his whole life was, just life of service. We grew up around blind people, and that was it, just life of service. So I thank God
I
for
didn't know that. Like,
yeah.
I've known you for, oh my goodness,
Yes.
20 years more.
Yes,
I
20
did
years.
not
Yes.
know that. But let me
Yeah.
just say, I was just sitting here getting chills all over, because this is going to be so relevant not only to medical field and your life and your story, but things happen to you and you like, God, why would you let me go through medical school, get all of this training and to be a surgeon and doing what I'm wanting? Then all of a sudden, God, that disappears. And you and I were talking about that. God shuts a door and you were like, God, but you sent me through this door. You sent me this way. And now all of a sudden, that's no longer available. So that door is shut. I can't open it back again. So what do? Go and sit somewhere and cry? Go and sit somewhere and do nothing? No, he went and made that lemon out of
Yes.
lemonade.
Out of lemonade.
World
Yes.
renowned. That is
Yes. Yes.
unbelievable.
Yes.
Oh, that
That
is,
was a blessing.
yeah, that's a blessing. That's a great story. Okay, so you guys that are on here, I know you're getting something out of this. No matter what happens to you in your life, it's not over.
It's
That
not
God
over.
just might want to send you another direction. And
That
so
is
you have to
true.
be willing to say, okay, God, I'll go through that door, because that's where your blessing is in the other door. When God shuts that door, your blessing for you was back then through that door, but now it's through
Mhm.
another door. Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
Okay, this
Mhm.
is good. All right, so you came over here and you did it. So I know that you worked for a long time, and then you opened your own office, and now
Yes.
you have your own building. I was there when you had your first office. You
Yes.
came out. You said the Lord told you to come out, and then you were able to actually build your own building from the ground up. So
Yes.
tell us about what that was been like.
Well, I mean, first I'll go back. I need to make a reference to what Pastor O's message this morning was
Yeah.
right
Yes, it
on it.
was. Yes,
That's
it
my
was.
life testimony. That is my life testimony. And
Yes.
so many testimonies, because each time it was whether I got comfortable in a particular position, and it was either I listened to God to say move, or he moved me, whether I liked it or not. And that was what happened several times. So coming to the United States was a big move. For me,
Yes.
I never thought I'll be in the States. I never thought that I would marry and come to the States. I always thought I was going to be in Nigeria, in Africa, doing ophthalmology.
Right.
But my husband, Billy, you all know him, came, swept me off my feet in 92. And so in 93, I moved to the United States. Came to the United States, thought I was going to do ophthalmology. But it's so difficult for foreign medical graduates to get in to surgical specialties. I had to sit down and think of what to do. Had all this behind me, ophthalmologist in my country, a professor there teaching medical school, and had to come here and start all over again. It was a humbling experience. So I started again in Baylor College of Medicine, in the family medicine department, and did the best I could there. I just went ahead, did what I needed to do, finished that, and then joined the Christus Medical Group. So I did work with them for a couple of years. Again, when I got there, worked for a couple of years. Again, I felt when Pastor said today, inner peace. You don't have inner peace. I did not have inner peace because I was working and not being recognized for what I was doing. So after 2 years, I just thought, you know what? What could I do? I thought, how could I get out of this contract? My husband he's always been the visionary for the family. And he thought, Angie, you're working so hard for these people. You can go on your own. You can do this. And I thought, no, I was kind of comfortable, did not want to get out of my comfort zone. But the Lord at that time came again. And this time I got laid off. I never thought I would ever get laid off. There were many of us that were getting laid off. The Christus Medical Group, Baylor Methodist, over 2,000 doctors lost their job that year. And I
Wow.
never thought we could lose our jobs.
How many?
Almost 2,000 of us. There were many of us. They closed down all the different McGregor clinics, closed down, all of those things, all of those were just being closed down. So I was not what would have looked like a victim, but God had a different plan for me because he forced me out of there. I was busy dilly-dallying with the closure. I had no choice but to go on my own. So that's when I went on my own in 2002 with my husband. We had nowhere to go, but for the grace of God, we're able to start in a small area with a friend of mine that gave me a room in her office and just said, Angie, you can use this in the mornings. She's a cardiologist, and she said, I'll use it in the afternoon. The Lord placed people in my life then. And while we were there, we built out the first location, the location before this location.
Yes.
That was in 1960, a 2,600 square foot clinic, which we built out and did. And that's a testimony for another day, but I did testify in church one time about God's goodness and how he provided for us for that. So 8 years after was when we started again, what Pastor was saying, we outgrow our location. And I kept on trying to convert another room to another office and an exam room, but my husband said, it's time, we need to move. And I'm like, no, I like it here. The patients may not. He's like, time to move. We started praying about that, and we got a location just across from where we were. So we didn't lose patients. Instead, we moved to a 10,000 square footage. Now we became landlords. We weren't tenants anymore. And now we owned our business, and the Lord just took us to another level. So God has been so faithful. And during that period of time, we were just praying for Lord to enlarge our coast, enlarge our tent, strengthen the cords, all that pastor has been talking, all this about expansion. God, my life has been all that. So I really, it resonated deeply with me today. The sermon today, that has been our life story. So it's been a long journey, but we've been at our current location since 2009. That's when it was dedicated and when you and Pastor opened the clinic. So I thank God for everything.
Yeah, I remember being there. We had a hallelujah good time. We anointed all the doors. It was like a church instead of a medical building. We had turned that place into a worship center before it was a healing center.
We
And I
thank
believe
God.
so many people are healed there because every door has been anointed. Every
Has been
office.
anointed. Yes, Lady O, you did that. And I continue to anoint it.
Yes, indeed. I had to lay my hands on it, put the oil on it. It's like,
yes, ma'am.
but I think, thank God for you, because I really, it means so much to me to have not only a competent doctor, but a doctor that knows the Lord.
Thank you.
And I remember I had surgery only one time. And the first thing I asked the guy was, do you know the Lord? Do you know Jesus? In case something goes wrong, who do you call on, in this room with this surgeon? So I wanted to just say that, in your office is located, you give the address.
11706 Fallbrook Drive, Houston, Texas, 77065.
Yeah, we can put that in the chat room, but it's right over near
the CVS on 1960 on Fallbrook.
1960, thank you. 1960 in Fallbrook, right there, across from a 55 plus
yes, the mansions.
Yes. Yeah, and it's beautiful. Got a fence around it.
Thank God.
So we thank God for that. But I think the thing that I'm wanting to learn, even from, your story today, and, as we talk and so forth and hear God, and I'm just wanting to hear God about every day of my life, that sometimes God will close doors and he'll say, pivot. And it's not to harm you. Said, I know the plans I have for you. We don't know them, but he knows them. But we have to trust him that when he closes a door, he's trying to get us to move into another door. I didn't have this experience personally, but my grandfather had a farm, and I knew when they wanted to get the cows to go in one way, they would literally close the gate where they were, and they would be forced into the other area that they thought they were going back into the same place, but they would have to go. So that's the way God does, but it's always been a blessing.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So we trust God. So now let me tell you, thank you for sharing your story. And I know you have two beautiful kids, and they're all grown, and your empty nesters. I remember when they used to come to the daycare and the summer program, and they were so little.
Yes.
Now they're all college, grown and gone.
Yes, we thank God. Yes, Billy and Anita. Yes,
Billy and Anita, beautiful, beautiful children. Such a blessing. And then your husband, Brother Billy, and he's got that business mind. He runs that, everything.
Yes, he's the practice manager. He's the practice manager, but he's been the visionary. I tell you, it's so. I got married at 30. I mean, all my friends had already got married, started having kids. I got married at 30, but I know that the Lord was picking the right person for me, divine intervention. And what he has been is everything that I've not been able, that not my strength, the business part of the clinic, all that, the technical part of it, which I'm not good at, I have no clue about, that has been his strength. And just being the encourager behind me, has always been there to encourage me. I thank God for him as well.
Yes. He's a very, very wonderful, godly man, and very strong man, and always been there to helping God and running the office and the money. He knows those numbers and all the business part. And you take care of him, and he takes care of all the bills. It's a great partnership.
Yes, we thank God for that.
Yes. So tell me about, now that COVID has come, how has your life changed as a doctor? I know I've seen the wonderful blessings that God has given you, and so now COVID comes, and so what's it like now for you?
Well, it's been a life changer on so many fronts. Actually, we didn't even know. Looking back now, there might have been some patients that had COVID that we saw between December and February and didn't even know we were treating COVID because a few had come back and checked their antibodies and it's shown that, yes, they were exposed. So
Wow.
when you look at it, it's kind of frightening because it means that we were exposed as well, myself, my husband, and the staff.
Mm-hmm.
But God has been so faithful. God has been so faithful. I've seen him work throughout this whole year. It's almost a year. We're all still standing. None of my staff, none of my family have contracted COVID. And it
Praise the
doesn't mean
Lord.
we didn't have people come in that might have had COVID,
Oh,
because
they
what I've
did.
done is actually try to triage the
Mm-hmm.
patients so that people who have any upper respiratory, GI symptoms, rashes, anything we really can't explain, I do that over the phone. So I do telemedicine for them so they don't come in. And that's
Right.
also to protect those that come in. So we went through that period of time of fear and anxiety, just like anyone else, not really knowing what we're dealing with. But
Yes.
God Almighty kept us, because there were times we'll go in, my staff will break down, I will break down. We're afraid of taking things home to our families, to our loved ones, them to their parents, to their children, me to my husband who has medical challenges. And it was just the fear of all that that kept us, but we kept on going, never missed a day, never closed the clinic. Some clinics closed down, but we went on. So it did, it affected us that way, but looking to God, throughout that period of time, all I could do was keep on praying. So we had prayer groups. I prayed over my staff, they prayed over me. Some of my patients prayed over us. We had pastors that are some of our patients. I'll call when they came to us, to take care of themselves. I'll ask them if they could pray for me
We
and the staff. They did all
we always
that.
have a prayer meeting when I come in. We
Thank
gotta
you.
stop and pray.
Feel the prayers. And those were things that, kept us going. And
Yeah.
even for each one of us, it wasn't just everybody had their own personal experiences. But for me as an individual, there were times that I really became overwhelmed because I was
Yeah.
by myself. I'm still by myself working. My nurse practitioner left just a week before COVID hit. So I've been doing this pretty much all by myself. And there were times I had breakdowns, mentally felt I couldn't deal with it, physically
Yeah.
overwhelmed. But
Yeah.
just the support from my family, my husband, children, the support from my staff. Oh, God bless my staff. Oh, God
Yeah.
bless the support from the patients. I'll go in, they come in to help, to come for treatment, but many of them were praying over me, laying hands on me. I just couldn't even say thank you enough. And then my siblings, oh, my siblings, they're all over in Canada and Nigeria, in the States. But just the prayer, two of them are pastors, but they always would lift me up and my whole family would pray. And then those were the pillars of my strength.
Yeah.
God put us through. So for me, it's shown me the God that I serve, how he
Yeah.
has been so faithful. And financially, he's kept us going because we did suffer some financial, stagnation too because of that. But God has continued to provide. We've just
Yeah.
found out that, he's not given us, he's not let us, we've been able to pay all our bills and pay all our staff. We didn't let anyone go. So to God,
Yes.
we thank God for his faithfulness. I just can't
Yeah.
thank him enough. And we continue to look to him to protect us.
Well, when we were there, we prayed over the building before anybody went in, before we had any patients come. That was what we were praying for, the covering of the place, of you and the place and the people that came in, that even though they came in with the disease, and some did, definitely,
Mhm.
but it didn't come near you. You know what I mean? God protected you. He protected your staff, because if your
Yes,
staff gets it, then the next person and your patients get it.
yes,
So, so God is so faithful, and we just pray, and we'll continue to pray for you, because I know, as you shared, that when you're like the owner, when you're like the person who is really kind of everybody's depend on, the weight on you is very heavy. And I'm thankful to God that you were able to be very transparent and said you broke down sometimes.
yes. Okay.
Your people in your office, they break down sometimes. That's why we have to pray for our doctors and don't give them such a big problem. Be a good patient. But I know even with us as pastors, sometimes you just you break down because the weight is all on your shoulders. People can
Yes.
go to another church, they can go to another doctor, but that's your
Mhm.
practice. That's
Yes.
what God has given to you. So you wear that burden heavier than anybody else in that office. So I get that. So I wanted to just ask you real quickly too. I know you've got to go about the vaccine because the vaccine is becoming available, and she is in. They're asking about your practice. It's family medicine, correctly? Is your
Family
practice
medicine, yes.
family medicine? And they asked if you took Aetna. That was another
Yes, I
question.
do. Yes, I
And she
do.
takes Aetna. What is the other question? The questions are coming in, so I'm trying to get them as I can read them. Okay. But yeah, so tell us about, what do you think about the vaccine? Because I know the other gentleman was on, said
Mhm.
that he was told not to take it. He's a nurse, and he was told, well, a respiratory therapist, and he was told, don't take it. What are you hearing? What do you say about the vaccine?
Well, initially when it first came out, a lot of patients pushed back.
Mhm.
They were like, no, they didn't. It came on, it was approved too fast. That was what a lot of people, and I still hear that, that was approved too fast. So they're not comfortable, taking the vaccine. They want to wait a little bit longer. Ask,
Yeah.
how long do you want to wait? Maybe a few months, maybe by spring, March, June. Some are
Mhm.
saying that, when they would have heard a little bit more about what's going on. But I
Right.
personally, when it first came out, I did tell my patients too that I wanted to wait and see. And I've never been one to jump into, whatever it is that's come out. Even some of the other vaccines we've had before, I had to be pulled after a month or two. I
Mhm.
was always slow to go in. And what I would not do, I would not tell my patients to go ahead and do. So I
Exactly.
told them, and I was upfront and just said, I was just going to wait maybe like a month, get a little bit of feedback. But the only people I would say absolutely should not take it are people who have had problems with vaccines. If they had tetanus shots, pneumonia, flu shots, had really bad reactions, do not take the vaccine,
If
regardless.
you've had a reaction to another vaccine.
Another vaccine, safer
Okay.
not to take the vaccine because you do not know how you're going to react. So I
Mhm.
decided that I'll just go ahead and watch and see. And more patients were bold enough. There were some that were like, they'll rather go ahead and have the side effect than have COVID. And that I found amongst my patients that were above the age of 65. Many of them were like, no, they were still going to push through. But so far, I've seen very minimal reactions. People have called with like fever, chills, the injection site's a little bit red, a little bit hot. Some people have had a little diarrhea. Some people have said that they feel a little bit dizzy. And within 48 hours, most of them are fine. I've not had any of my patients that have been vaccinated that have had any bad, outcome. All of them have done really good so far. I've had my first vaccine, and what Mr. Benny was talking about. It's amazing that we as physicians, and not just physicians, the healthcare professionals have done so much and put ourselves in front line, and still he had to return back from the ER.
Three
But it
times.
took me 2 months to get my vaccine. I
Wow.
mean, I
Two
went to
months.
North Cyprus to try and get vaccine. Methodist, Memorial Hermann, everybody kept giving me the running around. I'm like, I send my patients to you guys. I've done this for 15 years. I'm here still in the front line because when the hospitals are full, the backflows into the clinics. And we're
Yes.
sitting here every day, and you cannot get me a vaccine.
Mm.
They couldn't. So it's amazing that, but I eventually got the first one. I'm still waiting to get the second one sometime next week. It was no problem. I had a little chills. I had a few chills, a little bit of soreness, but within 48 hours, I was fine. And
Right.
that's what most people do. So I really urge people, especially those high risk, those people that are above the age of 65, those people that have chronic medical conditions, that may have lung diseases, heart diseases, kidney failure, cancer patients, those people that have a low immune system, they should go ahead and have it.
And
I've
have
had
it.
people try and get the vaccine or try and get, accommodations for work so they don't go in, like teachers and some other people that are in the front line, but frontline non-medical.
Mhm.
But, I'm trying to tell them that they should try and get the vaccine as well. So it's not
Right.
100% protection. It doesn't mean you will not get COVID. It just means that it's going to minimize the response and that it won't be as severe as those that haven't had it. So I
Mhm.
urge people to get it. Doesn't matter whether it's Pfizer. That's the other question I get. Is Pfizer better? Is Moderna? They're both good. I got Pfizer. I have many patients that have had Moderna, and everybody's doing good. And when Johnson and Johnson comes out, that will even be better. But so now I think more and more people are opening up to getting the vaccine, and they should. But talk to your doctor about whether you're a candidate for it or not, if you have any questions before going ahead and doing it.
That's very good advice. For those of you that are debating whether or not you should have it, here you have a medical doctor. She looks beautiful. She's had it before and waiting for the second one. And I myself have had both of them. I went ahead and had it. My healthcare, I'm diabetic, so some other issues. And when I saw the things that people had to go through and the hospitalization, I said, well, this risk is really not anything compared to the actual disease. So I went ahead and got it. And my husband and I both got it. We have both of them. We did Moderna, and we did have a few little side effects with the second one. I did. First one, I don't even think I had any side effects. I didn't even have a soreness where they injected, but the second one I did, but I'm okay. So we'll just say, but like you said, Dr. Yola said, you cannot, it's not just definitely that you won't get it, but I'm hearing that you probably won't have the severe things, and you probably won't die from it, and you won't have to be incubated or whatever they say. Well, Dr. Yola, I just want to thank you so much for coming on again. And we honor you. We love you. We pray for you. We continue to pray for you because we know you're there on the front line, and God has begun a good work in you. He shall bring it to the finish, to completeness. So wherever he pivots, however he does it, it is well.
Amen. Amen.
A beautiful gift for you that we're going to give to you, and we'll get it to you as an honoree. And we just want you to know that we send our love and our everything. And these gifts are coming from Thrivent. We work with them, and they'll have some other information there for you, but the main thing, some goodies. But we thank them for partnering with us so we can bless people like you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank God bless you, lady, and everybody.
We pray for you and your family.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's an honor.
We'll be talking. Okay, call me whenever you get a minute. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, and this next guest we're honoring is one of First Metropolitan's one of our nurses that's so committed, and we're going to honor all of our nurses. We have gifts for all the nurses and doctors of First Met. So I just wanted to say that too. And Tisha she has them at the office. She's all got them lined up with your names on them. So if you're a doctor or if you are a nurse from First Met, then you're going to be getting a gift as well. And I'll share with you some of the things that's in the gift in a minute. But without further ado, I want to get our next guest on because she too has to go in to sign in because of the weather. And this is Nikita Edmondson. Nikita is a nurse, and she's just always there she's such a caring person. I would love for her to be my nurse. She's competent, but she's caring. So I wanted her to come in and talk to us. Tell us, Nikita, welcome, first of all, and thank you for coming. And we chose Nikita as our nurse honoree, and we honored her also by providing food for her floor for the 2 shifts. Chick-fil-A and Thrivent Financial is our sponsor. So they were so wonderful in helping us with that, funding the food to get it to her floor. So I think we have some pictures too. So first of all, Nikita, come on and say hello. Tell us where you work and a little bit about yourself. And then we're going to share the pictures of some of the wonderful things that we in Thrivent were able to provide.
Hello, Lady O. Thank you for having me, you and your team. And I want to make a correction. I'm not a nurse. I'm also a respiratory care practitioner.
Thank you. You told me that. I forget.
But I know a little bit about everything. So that's fine. It's the same amount of schooling if anyone isn't aware. We go to school, we get trained, and it's really, it's the heart and the lungs. We specialize in heart and the lungs. So thank you so much for honoring me and just our team. I waited for them, but it's been so busy lately that
I know.
We've been eating, run, and massage your feet if you can, and you're just right back out there again because it's just been that busy.
And I understood that, and that's why I wanted to just take it to the break room and set it up, and those that could come and go, because we know we don't want all the nurses in there one time who's taking care of the patients. And they're so committed, they're not going to be hanging out in the lounge like sometimes we will find teachers doing. Teachers are great, but sometimes we find that 1 or 2 who be hanging out in the lounge like, where's your class? Why are you in here? But we know nurses don't do that. But the reason why we wanted to put it in there so that when they did get a break, they could run through and get it and go. So I know you have a couple of pictures that you're going to share in a little bit, but what I wanted to do was to ask you about your life. Okay. When I said nurse, I was thinking about the people who take care of COVID patients. You talk about the heart and the lungs and the pneumonia and so forth. So, do you work with COVID patients, or have you had to work with them at all?
I've had to work with COVID patients. I do a lot with the NICU babies. We have a level 3 nursery. I've worked a lot with them, and it's no exceptions. We have a lot of COVID mothers that come in, and then we treat the babies as if they are.
Wow. So you have babies that have to do that with
they have COVID, because we have to protect the other little babies. When I say babies, I don't mean these are grown babies ready to come out. These are babies that are early babies.
God.
It's 42 weeks you're to carry the baby, and these babies are coming out at 25 weeks, 26 weeks. So they're little, they're small enough to fit in the palm of your hand,
Oh.
and it's just a lot of these. So we have to separate them from the other ones so they're able to thrive. But there are times, but supervise, so I go all over the place. I go to ER, to the other units where need to help. So I have cared for COVID patients, and I remember the very first time, and I'll be really brief with the story. My very first COVID patient, and it was an older gentleman, and I went in and he just took everything off, and I said, I had to gown up and go in, and I went in there, and I says, what's wrong? He just says, I'm scared. And I said, okay, well, let's talk about this. I says, you need to keep this on. He had a BiPAP, he was not intubated. He had a mask on his face that helped him deliver breaths and things of that nature. And so he said he was scared. I says, well, let me just pray with you. So I had the opportunity to pray with him. And I asked him if he was a believer, and he says it was too late for him. It's never too late. So I prayed again for him, and he was at peace. He put it on. And when I went back the next day, they told me he had called his wife to come, and he talked with her for a few hours, and he decided to, we call it a DNR, it's a do not resuscitate order, in the event that he has a cardiac arrest. And he had signed the papers himself. He and his wife had time together, and then later on he passed away. So
wow.
he was at peace with, he made peace with God. I really feel that in my heart. It was hard to swallow initially, but I said, you know what? I did everything that, God had me to roll up my sleeves, because before we found out about it, my husband and I were joking about, okay, well, I don't know if I want to go to work, but I know I want to work because, to make the dream work. So,
well, when you're
and you have to do.
Yeah, you're called to service, and when you really take that serious, I mean, so many of us, even on this line, would probably say, I don't know if I could have done it, Nikita, if the man, I'm sitting here talking to him and the next day or two he's dead from COVID, then I'm sure that would put a little fear in you. But that's why we said nurses are angels. They are angels sent from God, the truth, because it does take a lot. So you were a little fearful, but that was your first one, and he actually died very soon. So that was rough. So, but so you are a supervisor, so you see anywhere from the infants, like I said, 24 weeks, all the way up to seniors.
Yes,
So
sir.
you get the full gambit. So what is it like for you as a person? I know you've got your own family, and what is your husband saying? And what are you thinking about? Because you have to go in again, because even just being in the hospital sets you up for being in the possibility of having the range of having COVID person, even just walking by or in another room or transmitting that disease. What are you thinking?
I really just rely on my faith. I pray for us every night.
Mm.
I just feel like that, if God I do get COVID, then you know what, that he has us covered, but I do everything in my power. I strip down in the garage, put my stuff in there in the steam it and whatnot. I don't wear shoes in the house. Well, that's something we've always done, but my shoes stay in the car. I have I have a lot of stuff in my car, so I hope none of it gets too big in the head. But I have a lot of stuff to protect myself. If I do with a knowing COVID patient, I will change before I leave work. Just things to help protect my family, and really,
Yeah.
that's that all that we could do.
Can do.
Discussed it, and he's okay with it. Sometimes I'll do a little cough and he'll say, "You didn't come home with the COVID." But jokingly, but on a serious note, it's like, I try to protect myself.
And your family. Yeah.
So my family will be healthy.
Yeah. The first time I called, Pastor got a Lysol thing and started trying to spray me. I said, look, if you spray that Lysol on me, it's going to be on. I'm just saying, you confident going on. He's spraying in the air. And ended up, he's the one that got it. I didn't get it. But anyway, I think that is so good. The thing that I'm hearing you say, and I heard even Dr. Ayola say, is our faith, in God. And the fact that you look beyond the fact that this man had COVID and saw the need of his soul. Remember, I preached about that last Sunday, the soul bowl. We need to care about the soul. We know where we're going, but here this man is a stranger. You knew that he needed to have that conversation, and you did it. So thank you for sharing Christ with I'm sure his family thanks you for that as well. But so, and when you were saying that, last year, my last grandbaby was born in the year of COVID. I mean, Michelle was pregnant. I'm like, oh Lord, she's got to go in the hospital where COVID is there. We can't go in. Everything changed. And Jordan, my baby, he works in a dialysis unit. He's a supervisor over there for dialysis. So he has to be there where people come in to get their dialysis and they're sick, but they need care. So he did the same thing. He would take his shoes and clothes and take them off, and he would head straight up to the bathroom and shower before he could come in and hug his wife or play with his baby. So there's so many sacrifices that you guys go through. So if you could talk to anybody about that's listening here, what kind of advice would you give them for prevention, or if they get it, any misconceptions that are out there? Can you give us anything?
I think the biggest is definitely wear your mask and wash your hands. Hygiene is everything.
Yes.
A lot of people, you wash your hands. That's all I have to say. Wash
oh my goodness. Now see, you're gonna strike a note here, because there's some people, we used to go in the restroom in school and certain people would not wash their hands at the airport. I was just saying, look, like, how can they not wash their hands? They think their hands are what? I don't know. But anyway, okay, I'm through. Go ahead. So wash the hands.
Wash your hands.
Nasty
and
people.
If you and wear your mask. I would say wear your mask, because people don't wear the mask, and a lot of nurses, some people go and get the big respirator mask, but really all we wear are, actually I wear N95, like the white ones that the church had given us before, and then I'll wear another one over that. But we wear
doubling up
surgical mask.
Oh, okay, your surgical mask.
Yeah. Like if it's a known COVID patient, then we will wear an N95, and I'll put another one over, and I'll wear it no more than 2 hours, and I have to drink, I have to eat, and I have to eat. But and then in our department is kind of small, and that's our pod. And in our department, we've only had Benny to have contracted COVID. And so that
now, say that again, I didn't hear it.
We are about 25 to 30 in our department on our unit. And
Mhm.
or we talk like you, well, you and I face to face. We do have maybe a simple mask or a cloth mask on when we're giving reports.
Mhm.
Benny is the only one in our unit that has gotten COVID. And
And it's possible he could have gotten it from somewhere else,
yeah,
the
taking
grocery
care of.
store
Mhm,
or
mhm.
anywhere. So,
So,
so I had a question here in the comment. I was reading it, and it said, "What about covering your nose and your eyes? Do y'all cover your nose and your eyes too, or is it just the
mhm.
mask?" And it bugs me when I see people with their mask on, and this down here is supposed to be covering your nose too, right?
Yeah, it should cover your nose on the bridge of your nose. And as far as the eyewear, I either wear my glasses, but I do wear a shield. Is
Okay.
because we deal with a lot with suctioning the patients. And of course, and then when you're listening to breath sounds and stuff, you're over the patient. And one thing about COVID is they do a lot of coughing. It's more of a dry cough. However, there is still stuff that spits out. So you
Mm,
have to make sure that you're careful. So yes, we do wear a face shield.
okay. Very good. Well, we just wanted to honor you today and just to thank you for all you do. And I'm not sure if Tisha's gotten your gift to you yet, but we have a really big gift for you, the honorees. And as I said too, we have a gift for everybody at First Met who works, in the hospital system. And so we've got your names on them. I think you've been contacted already. If not, you will be, but they'll be at the office there for you. And we just want to pray for you guys and just thank you from the bottom of our heart, because when we get sick, we're expecting a doctor or a respiratory therapist, somebody in the x-ray room. Y'all do your job because we need the help. But we also pray for your families, because we know that if we come in infected, we not only infect you or possibility, but we could infect your whole family. And then so is there anything else you would like to tell us, share with us?
I would
Uh,
like I would just again like to just say thank you. Thank you for your prayers. I feel your prayers. There's days where you know what, you don't feel, I'm being honest, you don't feel like caring, but God gives you that little push, and I really feel that ump and that strength, and I really believe that is the prayers of the righteous, you know,
yes,
and
yes.
then that covering and that sense of peace that only He can give. And I want to also say that the the workers that were there, they said, oh my goodness, thank you so much, just for record. So they did. I said, we're gonna bring a card, so I'm gonna present you guys with the card or something.
Oh, yes. Do we have
But
time to
thank
share?
you for
Do we have time to share one of those pictures? Who's in the back there? If we do, can you put up a couple of the pictures to show some of Nikita's friends, those other heroes and sheroes? Nope. Um, Not sure if they're going to be able to share it. But anyway, Nikita, I wanted to, if y'all can get it up, get it up. I want to go ahead and let Nikita go, because she has to get on the road and get to the hospital and get settled in to spend the night there, inconveniencing for you and your family, so that the patients that are there waiting for you will be comforted and knowing that, they did. Okay, there it is right there. Okay, we gave a little Chick-fil-A, they could just kind of get it and go. And like I said, there's a couple of them that came in and got it. There's a team right there. Oh, that's so nice. I love it. I love it. So I know we did 2 shifts, that
Mhm.
shift and then a shift afterwards late on that night. So those are some of the things that, so we want to thank Thrivent. Oh, that's the delivery truck that bought it. So Thrivent Financial, in the boxes, there's a lot of stuff. And so we will put information about Thrivent too in the box. I don't know if anyone's on here that has their information, but Google them up. Thrivent is a place where we not only care about your health, but your financial health, your insurance. They give free consultations, and I have used them. I don't put just anybody on here unless I know for sure that they're going to be kind, they're going to be fair, and they're going to be something that you need. And the good thing about them too is that they give, when you come, if you sign up for an insurance or whatever, they will give $250 for you to give back to your nonprofit, which is your church or Tea Talk or somebody like that we can bless. That's how we got our money to bless for the food because of Thrivent. So I want you all to know that and to send them thank you. And better still, go by and see them. Jenna Hurd is our rep, and we will, get you in touch with her if you need help about anything from trust to wills to insurance to all the kind of things that you have to have when you're looking at life beyond just what's going to happen here today. Planning for a good financial future, setting up a budget, talking about how to manage your money, all of those kind of things, how to get out of debt, she can help you with. So let's do that. All right, so let's go ahead. And Tracy, do we have any announcements for next week?
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, we're good.
Okay, I want to make sure you're able to see my screen. So next week, we have an awesome show schedule. We have those women who sacrifice, who've given of themselves, and we call those women our unsung sheroes. So we're going to feature those special people, the hidden figures of our world. And it made me think about Katherine Johnson in the movie where she was that famous mathematician and she was unsung. And so we'll get a chance next week to look at some of those special unsung figures and celebrate them.
Yeah. So it's Black History Month, and we did have some trivia for you. We just kind of ran out of time with that. But next week is going to be all about Black history, Black women, the sheroes that we don't hear a lot about. So tune in next week. Make sure your kids are watching so they can learn about their history and about people that look like them. And today would have been a great time too with Dr. Ayola telling her story, to see people who look like them who can become doctors, who can wade through the impossibilities of life and still turn out and flow with God. So thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Thrivent, for helping us with our gifts. Like I said, Tisha has all the gifts there at the church. They're lined up, and we'll mail them to you if you're out of town. But if you're in town, we want you to come by and get them. So set up with her when you're coming, and she will be there every day except for Wednesday. So set up a time to come by and get them, and we want to bless you with them. They are beautiful things inside this box of gourmet popcorn in some of them, and T-shirts and mugs. I mean, all kind of wonderful things. And Valentine's. There's some Valentine roses in there, chocolate roses. So it's going to be great. So we just want to give you that to say to all of our nurses and doctors, First Metropolitan Church, we honor you, and we thank you for being a part of Tea Talk. We'll see you again next week at 3 for Tea with Lady O. Bye-bye. Take care of yourself and love on a nurse. Give somebody something really nice for serving us when they could be at home serving themselves. Love you. Bye-bye.